Alright, so this is going to be some brief gameplay of Medal of Honor Airborne Redux, the mod I've been working on for a little while. I only showed off that brief teaser, didn't really show much of the meat of the gameplay, so I'm going to be showing off Husky. It's probably my favorite level in the game. Just a little quick tip, you can actually skip the opening briefing just by hitting E. Never actually knew that until I looked at the input file. For the first level, I'm going to be showing off some different weapons, but I'll be using the intended weapons later on. You can see right there, I changed some of the little tips in the loading screens. Most people aren't going to see them, but you know, it's there, and it gets rid of like the regenerating health stuff. Oh, by the way, you can skip the cutscenes by hitting enter on the like little quote part. And if you enter in slow-mo in the console and then a number that's positive, you'll actually speed it up. So it's very handy for these opening airplane sequences that go on for a pretty long time, honestly. Again, I'm only limited to what's in the config files to edit. I gotta say, hell of an opening to this game. It's definitely my favorite level in the game, and I think it's a great level to show off the mod, just because there's so much freedom for how you can do the objectives. I honestly think the whole game should have been designed with these urban areas in mind, but as far as I know, there's only the two levels, this one and Market Garden. And Market Garden, I would probably go as far as to say my least favorite level. So right off the bat, you can see the higher FOV. You can see a lot more of your hands. You can see a lot more of the environment. You can see that the Sturmgewehr 44 is a lot more accurate too, although it was, if I remember correctly, it was pretty accurate in the base game. But that's not the gun that's really improved with accuracy. Yeah, right now I'm shooting small bursts. I'm getting pretty accurate fire. I decided to take a little detour. One of my favorite things about this level is the town hall. There's just so many ways you can approach it, and I'm going to be showing off later some really inventive ways you can tackle the objectives. One thing you'll be seeing me a lot in this gameplay footage is really trying to peek around corners. As it said in the tooltip, instead of leaning being default, you now have to hold shift to lean. It's the reverse of the base game, and I don't know why EALA did that. It just seems so stupid and backwards. I guess because this game was designed with consoles in mind. I don't know. Anyway, here you see me try to clear out some of these rooms with the grenades. Doesn't really work the way I want it, though. I don't know if it's random, but sometimes the enemies spawn in this room, and given the damage output, they can kill you pretty quickly. But yeah, right here, an enemy runs into the room. I get scared. I don't want to face him head on because I could easily die. He could shoot me through those blinds, and I wouldn't even see it due to the AI limitations. Yeah, right here you can see the pistol, a lot more accurate. I looked up a historical document. I was looking up the accuracy of the M1911. Most modern M1911s, it says they have an accuracy between 3 inches and 4 inches at 25 yards, but World War II pistols, they actually had a dispersion of either 5 inches at the minimum or 10 for a very poorly made pistol, probably, you know, during, you know, wartime shortages and stuff. I went with 5 just because it felt, I don't know, decent. I might make it 10 if, you know, feedback if people say the M1911's too accurate. That plays into something else I was talking about. Oh, by the way, yeah, you could just lean here and take out most of this courtyard. It's pretty difficult if you face it head on. Yeah, I almost get killed there. But if you attack it at a different angle, it really goes to show you how much easier a certain place can be. And I even made a tooltip about that. One of the tooltips was like find a vertical position to attack your enemies, but I reworded it so it says if you get stuck in a combat encounter, try to find a different way to flank your enemies. Yeah, this opening level is just really great. Right here you'll see me trying to slowly approach this one enemy. I know there's always an enemy that spawns there, but he can be a bit shy sometimes. I thought I killed him, but I actually didn't. You know, we'll see that later. right there you'll saw like a little thing. I actually never realized that you can actually jump on that stack and attack the enemies from there too. Just goes to show you how many different ways they put to attack enemies. But I don't actually like that spot because sometimes the sniper enemies in the tower spawn in, and I've actually gotten killed by them there. So yeah, take that as you will. Oh yeah, right there. It's a problem I'm having with this game. The view models disappear for some reason, and I just can't explain that. It feels... And it never used to happen to me on Windows 7, but on Windows 10, it happens so frequently. And it's not the FOV settings either, because even with the default FOV and the default view model FOV, they still disappear, and I don't get it. I tried changing some settings, and it just didn't work. Yeah, here you see me try to throw the grenade in to kill him, but I gotta say, the grenade arc in the vanilla game, just terrible. It overshoots your crosshair, and and another thing is that the grenade physics are much floatier. For this mod, I gave every single grenade the gamma grenade bounce value, because that seemed right to me. Like, if you throw a grenade at a wall, it's not gonna just, like, bounce around like a fucking rubber ball. It's actually gonna like, hit the wall. It'll bounce a little, but it's not gonna just keep, like, bouncing and bouncing like a little rubber ball. Right here, close combat is definitely the most intense part of this mod. You'll see that the hipfire accuracy is much more accurate. Shotgun really hasn't been fine-tuned yet. So far, it still uses the iron sights value. You'll see that if you turn the crosshair, it moves, and if you move around, it actually grows too. And it grows very big if you jump now. I definitely wanted... Oh yeah, I shoot my allies here. I've actually had enemies spawn in that position, though, which made me think they were the enemies. Not sure how they even got there. That's a flaw with this game, the way your allies and the enemies spawn in. Nothing I can really do about that. Also, I hate how if you try to lean and your teammate comes by, yeah, he pushes you out of it. Like I was saying, close quarters is definitely the hardest part of this mod now. See, I found out that this game actually supports damage fall-off based on distance. Base game doesn't seem to use it that much, but I definitely pushed it as far as it could. I think the roll-off values start off at 100. They start off at 1, and it ends at 100 for the submachine guns and the shotgun, and 150 for the assault rifle, a singular assault rifle, and 500 for the big rifles. So... at close range, the MP40 will do 64 damage now. Yeah, 64 damage. And you're going to see it goes both ways for both me and the enemies. One thing I really wanted to promote in this mod was to make it really fair. I wanted to be hard but fair. I wanted the enemies to feel like other human beings. They don't have any human reaction times. They don't have aimbot accuracy. My first playtesting session, I basically played with the AI as is and the accuracy as is, and it was terrible. The only change I made was that the allies could support suppressing fire. For some reason, they don't support suppressing fire in the vanilla game, and now they do, and they feel a lot more useful now. I really don't know why they did that. I guess they did that intentionally to make your teammates less useful, so they couldn't just carry you if you played bad. But now in this mod, they actually do feel helpful, so that's good. Right now I'm confused because I'm hearing the sounds, and they're actually coming from above ground. My teammates were actually able to clear out these rooms, so that's just goes to show you how useful they are now. Like I was saying, I looked up Insurgency, the Source multiplayer game, the wiki. I looked up the damage values for the guns in that game, and I kind of used them as the basis for these guns. So the MP40 will do, what, 64 damage up close. I want to say about 10 yards. Past 10 yards, it seems to fall off to 48 damage. I think it was 48. Yeah, and yeah, that'll kill enemies in about 3 hits to the chest at close range. And then, shit, I want to say around 30 yards. See, it's hard to have... It's not like Stalker where you have the precise meters shown on the heads-up display. But around 30 yards, it'll drop down to 32 damage. It seems about reasonable, especially for the enemies. You'll see in the teaser video, one enemy hit me 3 times behind cover. That was before I tuned the accuracy and the AI. They really shouldn't be that accurate from that far away, in my opinion, because that was about 30 or 40 meters. you see me scoping out, leaning. Sometimes the enemy spawns in the tower, and he can kill you from here, so I shoot to make sure he didn't spawn in. God, I really wanted to do live commentary, but I found out that for some reason my microphone, I can't record the game and have the microphone playing at the same time because it overtakes the sound driver, and it kind of pisses me off. Yeah, I apologize for this commentary. I know most of you probably shut this video off by now. I wanted to show off this game. You gotta really run away from the Comp B now. I don't think I changed the values, but you have so much less health now. Originally I had it 100 for expert, 150 for normal, and 200 for casual. But with the new damage settings I've actually changed it to 200 for normal and 400 to casual. And my second playtesting campaign, which I actually did finish and didn't rage quit, you would die in 2 rifle hits. I had the rifles originally set to 80 damage, down from 100, because but I had the chest multiplier set to 1.25, so it would count as 100 damage if you hit it. At first I felt like it would be too unfair if you could die in 1 hit from a rifle, but I realized by the Neptune level 3, that it actually was a little... Oh, fuck. I forgot to mention. Yeah, the fall damage is different now. Shit. Yeah, I really wish I scripted this out better instead of just, But that's the problem. Yeah, the fall damage in the vanilla was way too lenient. I think they did that to encourage, going vertical and falling. But now you actually have to take care where you fall. You have to make sure you land on an object, or else you might take some damage. If you fall like that balcony height, you only lose about, I think, 5 to 10 damage. But if you fall off the top of that building, you could easily lose half your life. So be careful now. I think it was set to kill you at 4 stories in vanilla. Now it's set to kill you at 3 stories. Not sure if that's realistic, but it feels better. Right here, you're going to see a bit of a disaster. I try to show off the pistol. The pistol in the vanilla game was a joke. It was so inaccurate, and once you fully upgraded it, it was like a beast, but that's a big problem I have with this game. So a big problem with this game is that it's a very RNG game. When you shoot, your bullets don't go straight where you want them, and I don't know why they did that, because it ends up being way too hard to hit enemies with certain weapons like the pistol, the submachine guns, and the shotguns. But the rifles, well, that's another thing I'll get into later when I get to the M1 Garand. Yeah, like, your bullets wouldn't go where you want them to, and I don't know why you'd ever want it that way. You'd be surprised how many games do it like that. Even, like, Counter-Strike Global Offensive does that for the AK. It doesn't always hit where you want it to, even at... Oh god, yeah, this is... Fuck, well, the melee enemies are just savage now. You want the AK to hit when you shoot it, because it kills in one headshot, but it doesn't always hit where you want it to, and it's only exacerbated by the fact that your shots don't always hit the enemy, even if they're standing there, just because of how hitboxes are with the netcode. So I don't get why games do that. They just... Well, really, the way they do it is they do it to limit the range. If you could just snipe with the pistol, it wouldn't be very fun, except that's not true because Halo Combat Evolved exists. But, it's like they do that like that. They don't have ballistics, so the bullets don't drop, so they can't just make it that you can't, snipe with a pistol because the bullet won't drop. They gotta make it so the gun just doesn't shoot straight. Problem was, Medal of Honor Airborne, it just went way too far with inaccuracy. You'll see that the submachine gun hipfire accuracy in this mod is actually like over twice as accurate as the iron sights fire in the vanilla game. I don't know why they made it like that. It leads to other problems too, which I'll get to when I get to the Tommy gun. Actually, the MP40 comes first. Here you see I'm showing off the shotgun. So much more accurate now. It was a very RNG gun in the vanilla game. When it's fully upgraded, it does 50 damage per pellet, so it can two-shot. If 2 pellets hit an enemy, it could just kill them. The problem is, because the spread was so like random, you couldn't rely on that. So you have 12 pellets, 12 chances to do 50 damage. It could kill at a pretty decent range, but it was unreliable. In the teaser footage, I think the shotgun was a little too long-ranged, even though it was supposed to be fully upgraded. It definitely felt right in my second playthrough when I changed the upgrade. Oh god, that's right. The second, this really scared me. Yeah, the shotgun, it did 30 damage on that footage. It does 25 damage in the second playthrough. Now with the roll-off, it does 36 damage up close and then 18 damage at a minimum. So it feels... I gotta play test this more. I want to do another play test of the campaign, expert mode with these settings, the higher damage. Cause yeah, like I said, expert in the second playtest felt more like normal when you could die in 2 rifle shots when you're out in the open. God, I'm so sorry about this commentary. Now that I have the MP40, you're gonna see a lot more accurate, even at long range, and the recoil not too bad. The problem with the recoil in the vanilla game, it was, a lot of games do that thing where if the recoil reaches a certain point, it just stops, and it just starts going, like, left and right. Almost like Counter-Strike, but without the patterns. It's just random. I don't know, I guess they did that for gamepads, because I figured it's harder to aim with gamepads, but there are games that have recoil and are made for gamepads, and they don't feel too bad. Not as good as a mouse, but, you know... A big problem with Medal of Honor Airborne is it felt like a lot of this game was dumbed down for the casual audiences. Around the time the Wii came out, the game industry started to shift into this thing. Oh yeah, here you see me shut off the heads-up display to show, you know, hip firing might be more accurate. A lot more accurate than... I probably gotta tune that, but when the crosshairs are off, which is what I intend, it's actually pretty hard to hit accurately. So, you know, when the crosshair's on, you might hit stuff, but with hip fire and no crosshairs, it's very hard. Yeah, the game industry went into this whole shift when the Wii came out. You know, why target, like, 1 million sales with a difficult game when you could target 10 million... or maybe even 20 million sales with, like, a dumbed-down casual game. That's when games started to become more like movies. This game definitely suffered from it. In the earlier builds, I had bleeding. I actually turned the regenerating health value to negative, so it would take off 1 HP every 5 seconds. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that because... yeah, here you see I got hit in the cover, and it took off around 25 health, so yeah, even in cover... I'll get to that later. Oh, fuck, this is so scatterbrained. Yeah, like, the game industry went in this whole shift, and Medal of Honor really suffered from it. Pacific Assault, I forgot about this, but in Pacific Assault, you actually bled out when you got hit too, and you bled out pretty quickly. So what you'd need to do is you'd need to call your medic over to heal you, and it's pretty immersive. It did set it off. It did set it apart from Call of Duty pretty well. The first Call of Duty, where you just picked up health packs. I really wanted to add that kind of depth into this game, but you know, with modding, you can only go so far. I liked the system I had. It did make it a lot more tense when you got hit. It really encouraged you to take cover more and to really manage your health better. I like resource management in these kinds of games, these more realistic style shooters, because when you could just pick up a health pack when you want to, it's not as fun. But it just didn't work, because once you hit 0 health from bleeding, you would go into God mode, and if you picked up a health pack, you would be back to normal. In this mod, I have it set so that health packs always give back 100 health. I probably could have set it to 50. It's based on how much the health bars are segmented, so if you set it to 2 health bar segments, it'll only restore 50 health. But I did it at 100 health, just because you take so much damage, and health packs aren't as common as you think when you take that much damage, so... I mean, some levels do have more in spots, like the church in Market Garden has, I think, like 4 health packs inside. It's only meant to restore 1 health bar at a time, but it is handy when you take, like, oh my god, what, 75 damage from a rifle even when you're in cover. The problem with this game is that you don't have hitboxes for the player, only the enemies. So what happens is that if you're out in the open, you take 100% damage. If you're in cover, you take 50% damage, which in vanilla was 75. And when you're airdropping, you take 25% damage. I really would have preferred hitboxes, because then I could have had it if you get shot in the chest from any weapon, you get killed in one hit. That would have felt really realistic. But no, you can't do that. So I had to make some compromises. At one point I was going to set expert health to 75. That way you'd have the whole thing with the, the rifles killing you in one shot. That would be the compromise. But it just didn't work out, because you would take so much damage from limb shots, it would not feel fair anymore. Because if you shot an enemy in the leg, it wouldn't do that much damage. But if they shot you in the leg, it would do a little more damage. So, oh yeah, the hitboxes for the limbs in the vanilla game were pretty fucked up too. If you shot somebody in the arm, it'd do like 75% damage, and it's like that just doesn't make any sense. Like, if you shot somebody in the chest with a rifle... Oh, here I show off, I have, Reshade, I have Vibrance on. This game is very desaturated by default. I think they did that because when you have Motion Blur and Depth of Field on, it actually uses color grading, but when you don't have those on, it disables them. Here I show off Ambient Occlusion and Raytrace Global Illumination. Big problem is if you look at the hands and the gun, it bleeds through. It's because it's not part of the depth buffer, so it really sucks. Because you'll see, when this eventually loads, the game looks so good with these features on. It looks so much better, almost like a remaster, but it's like you're a ghost. You're playing as a ghost. If you want to play as a ghost, that's fine by me, but I just can't stand it. Look at this, it's ridiculous. The stairs are bleeding through the gun. And I really like it. It does look so much better, but yeah, stick with SMAA, because this game has no anti-aliasing by default. Smart Sharp, really good tool for bringing out the detail in the textures, and Vibrance set to 0.5 really tone down the desaturated look of this game. Make up for the loss of the color grading. Yeah, so the whole thing with the guns, now I have the Garand. Some of the I tried to tone down the ragdolls, but fortunately they're pretty glitched, so they'll still go crazy. It's set to 10 times less than the vanilla values, so that if it's 6,000, it'll only be 600. The Garand, the big change I wanted was that all rifles now kill in one shot. I didn't like it when, like, that whole arcadey thing where it's like the sniper rifle kills in one shot to the chest, or the Garand kills in 2 shots to the chest. I know they do that to make the sniper rifles more efficient, especially at medium and long range, but it just doesn't work. Show off the lack of the heads-up display. I don't want that. I want... Big Tins, the creator of Far Cry 2 Redux, told me it's possible to actually remove the crosshairs and the hit markers without removing the rest of the heads-up display. I want to find out how to do that. I found a site that has some Unreal Engine 3 editing tools, but there's no documentation on them, so I gotta look up more about them. Yeah, like, games take this arcadey solution where if you have a rifle and you have a sniper rifle, then the rifle always kills in 2 shots and the sniper rifle always kills in 1 shot. It's not necessarily realistic. I wanted to go for a more realistic feel with this mod, and honestly, the Garand feels a lot better when it kills in 1 shot. The problem is, like, you can see that now that the submachine guns are more accurate, they're actually a lot better for taking out enemies at close range. It doesn't even matter if you hit them in the arms or the chest or not, because they fire so fast. Even the MP40, by the way, I increased its firing rate to 550 rounds per minute, and I lowered the Sturmgewehr 44s to 500 rounds per minute. Not just for balance, because when I was looking up videos of those guns actually firing to get a feel for how they'd recoil, I actually found out, like, the MP40's firing rate was around 570 rounds per minute, and the Sturmgewehr's was 470 rounds per minute, so I figured those were pretty poorly handled guns, probably not well maintained over the years, so I evened them out to 500 and 550. It does make the MP40 a little more useful. I still say it's the worst worst automatic gun in the game. Thompson, now that we have probably my favorite automatic in the game, I want it to be useful even towards the late game. In the base game, it fired at like 833 rounds per minute, which was very unrealistic. Now it fires at an accurate 700 rounds per minute, and it does feel a little less broken. Not that it was broken in vanilla, but that's the point I'm trying to make. When you fuck up certain elements of the guns, you have to boost other parts. So if you make the Thompson more fast firing, you'd have to make it less accurate, so it's not better than the Browning automatic rifle and the Sturmgewehr. You know, I don't know. For an arcadey style game, you might want that, but for a realistic style game, you don't want that. The guns do have advantages. I think the Thompson is definitely the best for close range. In my second playtesting run, I actually had to buff the shotgun just because the Thompson was so much better at the shotgun for close range. Part of why I made the hipfire more accurate too was that for certain situations, like if you're trying to run from cover to cover in a doorway at close range, you want some of the shots to be able to hit your target. So the problem is there's no hit stun in this game, and the enemies don't react very well. So it can be very tricky when you're trying to run from cover to cover. They can hit you accurately because they're aiming, but you need to have some kind of suppressing fire so they don't kill you. And it does work. It works for the intended purpose now. I think I tried to show that off in the town hall part for the little basement section. The Thompson, it's very good for close range, but at long range it does get worse just because it does so much less damage. Up close it does 72 damage. At long range it does, I think, 30... Wait, no, it does 36 damage. And, the Sturmgewehr will do a lot of damage at long range. It'll do, I want to say, like, I think at the same range it might do around 60 damage. So, and the Sturmgewehr is a lot more accurate. So, at long range, the Sturmgewehr is better, but at close range, the Thompson might be better. Granted, the Sturmgewehr could kill in one hit at close range, so if you get those chest shots, you know, you might be able to get it, but it comes down to, like, the player's preference. I noticed in my playtests, I would mostly main one gun. I'd try to upgrade maybe its counterpart if I wanted to, but yeah, I would usually focus on the guns I liked for that run. I did the MP40 run, didn't work out too well. I did the Thompson run, the Garand run, the Carabiner 98K run, didn't work out either. That's a big problem with this game that I can't mod. There's a big case of dominant strategy. Some guns just are better. Like the M1 Garand, it has the adjustable sights, and it has the grenade. The Gewehr 43, it has a 20-round box magazine, it has a scope, and it has the grenade launcher. So it's better than the M1 Garand, and it's better than the Springfield. And it's fucking stupid. I really wanted to get rid of the scope. Problem is, and I think 20-round boxes are anachronistic anyway, but it's like... The problem is you can't change the order of the upgrades either. I definitely want to do that for the shotgun. I want to reverse it so you get the bayonet first and the more accuracy last, because making it more accurate makes it more deadly with how I have it set up. But the Gewehr 43, I would have to give it no upgrades, and that just... that would make the Garand better. And, like, that's the problem. You just can't balance it the way they have it set up, because it's inherently flawed. I don't know why the fuck they made it that the Carabiner doesn't get the scope, when that would have actually given it some usefulness. Instead, it's like the worst gun in vanilla game and the mod. Of course, in the vanilla game they balanced it. Oh yeah, right there you see. Look how much damage that did. That was easily 60 damage. So that's what happens when you get hit in close combat with the MP40 from an enemy. You've got to be careful now. You got to play it slow and methodically like I am. You got to peek around those corners. In the early runs, it was actually a lot worse. The enemies are actually 1.75 times less accurate now. I tried 1.5 accuracy. They still were a little too accurate at long range. Like, I would get killed from a two-shot burst from the Sturmgewehr at like 100 yards, and it just felt kind of bullshit. And when I had it to double in accuracy, they felt too inaccurate. So I'm hoping this value turns out to be the right one. It's fair enough that you don't get hit every time you pop out of cover, but it's, you know, they're still deadly enough. I'm having a lot of problems with the MG42 because in vanilla game it's way too accurate, but trying to do anything to it makes it a lot... It's like, so far I have it that the MG42, it does less damage when the NPC hits you with it, but because it's kind of glitched in vanilla, but I didn't really change anything else about it, except the firing rate from 1,200 rounds per minute to 1,500 rounds per minute, which felt more realistic. Like, it just... The problem is, the enemies, when they use it, it's like... It's not the same as when they use the handheld guns, where it feels kind of like when the humans use it. It's very inconsistent, and so I figured leaving it alone for the right now might be the best bet, not changing the damage or anything.
Damn, these Germans are tough.
Yeah, like I was saying, the Gewehr 43, it would kill in 2 shots to the chest, and arguably that made it kind of useless when compared to the Springfield, except for the faster firing rate. I guess on consoles it could be a little better because you have better accuracy with the mouse. I'm sure I've already mentioned this before in the teaser trailer, but you actually get much smoother mouse movement now. Like, the mouse sensitivity was set way too high in the vanilla game, and the multipliers for the scope were not that high. If you have 4 times zoom, it now has 4 times less accuracy by my estimates, so it feels right, except for the Sturmgewehr. That seems to actually have twice as accuracy, or twice the sensitivity when you're scoped. And I actually thought about making a 1.5 zoom instead of like a 4 times zoom, but that's not realistic, because when they'd use the scope on the Sturmgewehr, it would actually be the ZF4 scope. They had a ZF15 scope, but I think that was only in prototype testing, and, you know, I didn't want it to feel unrealistic. I might actually just end up going with that just because the scope feels so crappy. Yeah, we're actually coming up to the Springfield in this playthrough right now. You'll see it's a lot more accurate when the pixels don't just jump everywhere. You can actually use slow-mo to skip these shitty cutscenes, too. Not very fond of the cutscenes in this game. They feel a little too Hollywood. That's a big problem with this game. Compared to Allied Assault, it just feels... It doesn't feel authentic. It feels like very... I wouldn't say Michael Bay, but it does... It just... I mean, you have, like, the Nazi juggernauts with the portable MG42s. They weren't going for realism in this game. And that's a problem, because when it comes to something that really happened like World War II, you run the risk of making something exploitation, and it just really cheapens it. I really think they went towards that end with this game. They probably did it because they figured by this point there were, like, what, 10 Medal of Honor games? And at least 75% of them were shovelware. Here you'll see me showing off the melee in slow motion. Right now I'm having trouble tuning it because some of them, you'll see the cloud is a little after when it hits. So that's their fault, not mine. I gotta figure out the right values to get it so the puff, when it hits, lines up the animation. Yeah, I think about that Amazon Prime show, The Hunters. It was supposed to be like that show set in the 70s where they hunt down the Nazis who escaped Germany, and it's like based on real events, and then they have stuff like the Nazi chessboards where they make the prisoners at Auschwitz play human chess and kill each other. And then like the Auschwitz Memorial Museum actually said, this never happened, cut that shit out. You're gonna make people deny the Holocaust, all because you made this shitty Hollywood TV show. Like, that show had a lot of controversy and had a lot of, like, bullshit stuff. They try to make it like Inglourious Bastards, and they're trying to say based on real events, and it's like, I might as well just spoil the goddamn show. The final scene of the show is Hitler elderly in Argentina, like something straight out of, like, Wolfenstein 3D. Like, that show, based on true events, that's what happens. And I think Medal of Honor Airborne did cross the line into that threshold. And I think they did it because, like I said, there were 10 games up to that point. A lot of them shovelware. They're like shitty Wii games where you have to like steer the remote like a steering wheel, and you gotta like thrust the remote to do a melee attack that isn't even that useful. I actually remember when I owned the Wii. I remember back in 2006 I wanted to actually buy that game just so I could have a first-person shooter on that system, and I think a lot of other people thought the same way, and it actually turned out to be a terrible game. They wanted to differentiate Medal of Honor Airborne by having those elements, and it just, I think it just cheapens the overall experience. The most I could do was give them the Sturmgewehr 44, so at least you don't have like the unrealistic aspect where they're firing the MG42 at 1,500 rounds per minute from the hip, and it's just so stupid and they take so much damage. In my second playtesting run, they were decent. I don't think I ever got hit by the Sturmgewehr 44 once, but that might just be because I was taking cover so well, or maybe they just are that inaccurate, which they should be because they're firing from the hip. I had them at like 2.5 times damage multipliers for everything. I made them a little too easy. I decided to change it to just a 2 multiplier. They do have too much health. I do want headshots to be a little more lethal. In my test run, I had like 2 Sturmgewehr headshots would kill them. That should work out evenly right now, but when I get to that level, I might retune it. This is the part... Yeah, I might as well just scrap everything, because we're coming towards the end, my favorite part. So this final thing, it's basically just backtracking. You go back into the town hall, you do it all over again, but with Nazis instead of black shirts. And honestly, you don't have to do that. And I don't think I even realized that until I reinstalled this game. You can just cheese it by taking the shortcuts. You saw in the beginning of the video I tried to go for that room. Now I'm going back. Because I died, these enemies respawned. This game has like these weird hotspots where even if you die, certain enemies will respawn. And in later missions it can kind of get annoying because they're in very vital spots where you have to progress. Just check in to make sure they're clear. And yeah, here I go. Again, I love this first mission. They give you so much freedom to tackle the objectives. The whole game should have been like urban environments like this. It's almost like multiplayer maps, but with bots. It just feels so great. I really wish they more levels were like this. Because some of those later levels are pretty awful, especially the flak term. I'm sure you probably already noticed this, but the reloading animations are a lot longer now. I almost think they could be a little longer. The problem is it just extends the animation. It doesn't like tune it so that when he loads the magazine in, it's more accurate. Yeah, so like I was saying, keep forgetting, there's a lot of points I wanted to make, but I didn't say them through this video, unfortunately. Gotta focus on the visuals. You could just kill the Nazi here, he's dead. Now you got 2 left, and you get the checkpoint. So if you die, you know, he's already dead. You go in here, and you go up the stairs. Yeah, here's me trying to do the hip fire maneuver, the spray and pray, just so I don't die. And like I said, I want that to work. I figure if you have no crosshairs, it's actually balanced. Right here, see the Nazi, and I kill him. That's only 1 left. So that's 2 Nazis down. Didn't have to deal with any other enemies besides the ones that were left over for when I respawned. And, you know, checking these corners, because these enemies, I'm pretty sure they're still here. I was actually surprised I actually killed the one on the lower level, but the other 2 are still there. I guess while I'm backtracking, I might as well tell you why I made this mod. I was recording this game for the video. I was recording the video of the game for the channel, the 3D sound. I'm sure you've already noticed there's a bit of HRTF. You can hear enemies behind you. This game does have limited HRTF, but it doesn't take height into consideration. So it does sound a lot worse than Allied Assault with DSOAL, fortunately. Not sure if I'm going to package that in with the installation or make it optional, just so people discover it. Like, I was playing the second level, because I remember that being one of my favorites, and it's like, it didn't hold up. Like, the guns felt so shitty, the shotgun felt so shitty, the iron sights were just so zoomed in on the Garand that you couldn't even hit anything, because at a long-range distance, the big fat front iron sight would block everything. So, I knew, I had the files from PC Gaming Wiki that increased the FOV. I went to edit the view model FOV, and that's when I realized you can actually edit a lot of the elements of the guns in this game just from those config files. So that's when I realized there was no real mods for this game besides one released in 2007. I intentionally didn't play it just so I didn't get like any plagiarism when I'm like making this mod. I wanted it to be fresh and original. There you see me drop to an obstacle so I don't take any damage. That's what I want. I want you to play a little smarter that way. Yeah, so I'm really hoping this revitalizes interest in this game, because it's a very janky game, and it really hurts. I want it to be something like those Stalker mods, where they fix the jank in the game and they make the combat a lot more playable. I really hope, like, because this game had a lot of potential, and because of like some really janky gameplay decisions they made, it didn't live up to its true potential. It just had floaty guns and terrible FOV, and it wasn't optimized for PC. And I just, yeah, let's hope that once people play this mod, they realize this game was pretty good after all. There's the last officer. Mission's over. Didn't have to deal with a single other Nazi. Counterattack repelled. Like, that's the great thing. I never even realized you could do this until I started playtesting. You don't even have to deal, you don't have to backtrack, you don't have to deal with any of these enemies, because the Nazis are already there. You just have to kill them, and once you kill the 3 of them, it's it. The way the enemies spawn in this game, it's like you can actually do stuff like this. Pretty sure this is the only time you really can take advantage of it. I know you can blow up the AA guns in the flak term just by using the rocket launcher, but that's a little different. And that's not as useful. Oh god, let me tell you, that level's a nightmare even with the rebalanced difficulty. But, you know, a lot easier than it used to be. I want it to be hard but fair, whereas the vanilla game was not very fair, and it was very inconsistent with difficulty. Yeah, you'll notice after all that I still only got 4 stars. Somebody pointed out on GameFAQs, which is where I got a lot of the values for the enemy damage, you actually gain more points if you die and restart, because whereas the checkpoints don't track your XP, it does track your score for the mission, so it's better to just die over and over if you want that perfect 5-star rating. Janky game. What can I say? Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you check out this mod. You can see some of the names I changed. I was able to change the UI, so now it shows the real name of the Winchester Model 12, and instead of C96 Mauser, it's Mauser C96. I could probably change Recoilless, though, and I might change Carabiner 98K to Mauser K98K, just because that seems a little more professional. I really hope you check this mod out when it's done, and, you know, I really hope people realize this game had a lot of potential. It's just like, I really think EA made them rush it, and they made them dumb down some of the mechanics for the more casual crowd, because it's like, you have this great level design, these great objectives that you can tackle from several different ways, these nice sandbox maps, and you just ruin it with, like, you have too much health, even on the hardest difficulty, and you got guns that just don't hit where you want them.